Hello and welcome to In the Kitchen with Mary Mac. Today we have a special recipe that our family has loved for ages. The thing that you have at Thanksgiving, it's a special sweet potato dish called Senator Russell's Sweet Potatoes. Now, this recipe comes from Georgia, which is also where Senator Russell came from. His name was Senator Richard B. Russell. He passed away in 1971, and for some reason, this dish is named for him. I couldn't find any history on the dish, so I don't know if he came up with this recipe or if he loved it so much somebody named it after him or what. I don't know. But this is what I would call an extremely Southern recipe. This is such a classic Southern recipe that it's nearly unbelievable. And as soon as I tell you the ingredients, you'll be like, holy moly. This recipe has so many variations. If you look this up online, now what I have is a very old version of this. And this comes from our cousin Shirley Roman, who lives in Florida. And she has made these forever. And my mother-in-law, Zella, got this from Shirley. And my mother-in-law made this for 40 years that I know of. So it's been around. This is an old recipe. This version of it is probably either the richest or among the richest versions of this recipe. This is a very rich, sweet recipe. And as with all Southern type casseroles that involve a vegetable, it has a lot of butter and a lot of sugar in it. So you're going to start with, this calls for 3 cups of mashed sweet potatoes. So what you want to do is get some sweet potatoes, not yams, sweet potatoes. 2 large or 3 medium-sized sweet potatoes should make about 3 cups. But if you have extra, you can always eat it, so it's not like it's going to go to waste, right? So what you do is, just like you're making a regular baked potato, you take your sweet potatoes, scrub them very nice and clean, remove any bad spots on them, place them on the shiny side of a piece of foil, sprinkle with a little bit of kosher salt or sea salt, poke a couple holes in them, and roll them up in that foil. And then you want to bake them in your oven at 350 degrees for about 40 minutes to an hour. I always put them on a baking sheet after I wrap them in foil because it just makes them a little easier to handle, when you're getting them out. So you do that. Once they're baked, you're going to let them cool. And then they're sweet. I don't know if you've never done sweet potatoes before. They are the easiest thing. You just unwrap them from the foil once they've cooled. You don't want to do this hot. You can do it warm, but make sure they're cooled off good. Unwrap them from the foil, and you can just take your fingers and peel the skin off it. You don't even have to use a knife. They'll slip right out of the skin. And then just put them into a bowl and mash them with a potato masher. You don't have to do it with beaters or anything. They don't have to be whipped up or anything, but just mash them up, and then they're ready to go. So, to your 3 cups of mashed sweet potatoes, you're going to add 1 cup of white sugar, 1 stick of butter, softened, a half cup of milk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, 2 beaten eggs, and a half teaspoon of salt. And you're going to mix that up really well, put it into a 2-quart casserole dish, and then you're going to make your topping. Your topping is 1 cup of chopped pecans, 1 cup of brown sugar, 1 stick of butter softened, and a 1/3 cup of flour. And what you're going to do is put these in a bowl together and you can either do this with a fork or a pastry cutter, and you're just going to mix that together until they're like a streusel topping. So you want it to be nicely mixed and blended, but little chunks, And then you're going to take that and sprinkle that over your sweet potato casserole, and you're going to bake that at 350 for 30 minutes or so. And your topping will get real nice and solid and crunchy, and your delicious creamy sweet potatoes will be underneath. So now, in this recipe, you have got 2 cups of sugar and 1 whole cup of butter, and that's a lot. That's a lot for 3 little sweet potatoes, but you have to remember this is how they do it in the South. And you can take any horrible vegetable and make it delicious if you add 2 cups of sugar and 2 sticks of butter. But this comes out, and this is one of the most delicious things you will ever eat in your life. I'm telling you, this is so good. It's the crunchy top. See, there's enough pecans and brown sugar and butter and flour to cover the entire top of your casserole, okay? So the whole top is sealed off with this crunchy praline topping. But underneath that is this delightful whipped up sweet potato heaven. And this thing is so good. I mean, this is one of those things that when you're stuffed on Thanksgiving, you're still eating this. It doesn't matter how full you are, you will still eat this casserole because it's that delicious. And we love this. I mean, my kids don't even like sweet potatoes or pecans, and they will eat this because it's so good. I don't even know how to describe it. A lot of people say it's a dessert, but that's because they don't know about food in the South, okay? So this is just another casserole. And it's just so good, but it's such a nice special Thanksgiving treat. Really, nobody makes it any other time of year that I know. So this is one of those things that is definitely a Thanksgiving side dish and not much else. I have never seen it at any other event but Thanksgiving, but it is absolutely delicious. And it is absolutely the epitome of a Southern casserole. And I love it. I just love it. But this is one, if you've never tried this, or if you're a fan of sweet potatoes, what I don't like at Thanksgiving is when people make sweet potatoes and put a whole bunch of marshmallows on top of it and bake it. I don't like that. I don't know. That's not exciting to me. But this, if I see this, I'm like, oh my gosh, somebody made the sweet potatoes. And I love it. So if you've been making sweet potatoes with marshmallows on top, I challenge you to try Senator Russell's sweet potatoes and see if they change your life. Because this is like life-changing sweet potato here. This is the epitome of a sweet potato recipe. I think this actually takes anything healthy out of the sweet potatoes and throws it aside. Oh, I don't know. But it's so good. It's so good, and it so much complements like the turkey and the stuffing and everything else. It's just such a wonderful, wonderful side dish for Thanksgiving. Good, for goodness gracious, try it. Just try it and see. I know you'll love it. I do. If you love pecans or pecan pie or anything like that, you will absolutely adore this recipe because it's that good. It is really that good. And don't, like the first time you make it like this, okay? And then if you want to fiddle with it, that's why there's so many variations of this recipe, because people had to try and health it up, so they cut back on the butter and cut back on the sugar and, they just ruined it. I mean, it's once a year. You're not eating this every day, okay? So try Senator Russell's sweet potatoes recipes. You will thank me. I promise you.
And make sure to check us out online on Facebook and Threads at Mary Mac Bakehouse, on Instagram at Mary Mac Bakehouse and Mary Mac Podcast, on our website, marymacbakehouse.com, and in person at Standing Chimney every Saturday in November, plus Black Friday. Go to standingchimney.com for more information.
Thanks a lot for listening if you did, and if you didn't, too bad for you.